It's still pretty early in 2019, and so there's not a whole lot we can talk about when it comes to the Pixel 4 and Pixel 4 XL, besides the obvious. They'll run a Snapdragon 855, they'll launch with Android Q sometime in the latter quarter of the year. But what we certainly can talk about are the features that these two phones will need to have to compete with everything else coming in the year in the Android space. So take a second to subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll jump into what we want to see from the next generation Google Pixels. RAM on my Pixel 3 XL is still my biggest day-to-day gripe with the phone, and that's true even on the latest firmware without some of those early memory management issues. RAM is the reason apps get bumped out of memory more than other flagships, RAM is the reason the camera is often slow to load, and RAM is why Pocket Cast will still occasionally die when I take a bunch of photos with the camera. It's also occasionally what makes the Pixel 3 XL feel tragically slow compared to phones like the OnePlus 6T and Huawei Mate 20 Pro. The fact that Google stuck with 4 gigs in the Pixel 3 series versus 6 is kind of mind-boggling. That's because the Pixel's HDR+ camera tech has been chewing through RAM since the days of the Pixel 1. HDR+ is what makes the Pixel's camera so great, but it's also a huge memory hog on any phone, yet all 3 generations of Pixels have stayed with just 4 gigs of RAM. So this is the one big spec thing that I think Google needs to address in the next generation of Pixels. Hell, maybe just go all the way up to 8 gigs for good measure. I doubt that'll happen, but seriously, in 2019, it's time, dare I say high time, for a more spacious loadout of RAM. Now this one's not here because I'm getting horrible battery life from my Pixel phones, because really I'm not. But when you compare the Pixel 3 XL here to a Mate 20 Pro and realize that they're the same physical size, yet one has a way bigger battery, 4200 mAh versus 3430, then you've got to wonder what all that space is being used for. Fitting a big battery into a normal sized phone is a non-trivial challenge for sure, but this is another spec area where Google is comfortably behind the curve. And it's going to seem even more so in 2019 when we have the likes of Samsung rumored to be putting a 4100 mAh cell in the Galaxy S10 Plus. Google hardware has never been about the specs alone, of course, but when it comes to battery capacity, that's one area where a bigger number inevitably gives you a better experience. A Pixel 4 XL with Mate 20 Pro or Galaxy Note 9 level battery life would be amazing, and there's no reason Google can't do it. Okay, I know not everyone is a fan of Holepunch displays, including our own Russell Holly, who has an editorial up on why it sucks. But if Google wants to eliminate the frankly derpy looking notch in the Pixel 3 XL while also keeping the excellent twin selfie camera, and I really think Google does want to do that, then a Holepunch camera is the only way to achieve that goal. Wouldn't surprise me if the notch went away in the Pixel 4 XL and instead we had something a little bit like Galaxy S10 Plus, only with larger front-facing speakers. And if that happened, I'd probably be okay with it. The dream, of course, is to figure out a way to put LEDs in front of the camera and light up that area when it's not in use. Until then, we'll have the Holepunch. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than the notch, and I think in 2019 it's going to be the better path for the Pixel 4 to follow. This one's just kind of obvious. In 2019, Google needs to get with the program and finally give us multiple rear cameras. And if they do, which surely they will this year, then I'm really excited to see what Google's awesome HDR+ processing can do with a bunch more lenses at its disposal. The ideal setup would be standard plus telephoto plus wide, and we're going to see that combination in a lot of phones this year for sure. So a triple rear camera setup would ensure Google meets the table stakes for a flagship in 2019, plus we've already seen how Gcam, the technology behind HDR+, can work wonders on the Pixel 3's dual selfie setup. Neither of those front cameras on the Pixel 3 are anything special on their own, but combine them with HDR+ and the Pixel Visual Core, and suddenly you have the best nighttime selfies on any smartphone. Seriously, Google's camera software team could probably take the rest of the year off, and by the time the Pixel 4 landed, they'd still be comfortably ahead of everyone else. I don't think they will, but regardless, the possibility of wide and telephoto cameras around the back of the Pixel 4 should give us plenty to get excited about. So I don't want to get too deep into software stuff here. We'll get the Android Q developer preview probably in the next month or so, and that will give us further clues about what to expect from the Pixel 4. But having used Samsung's One UI over the past few months, I'm convinced this design direction for UI is what makes most sense in 2019. What I mean by that is that phones today are big and tall with 6+ inch display diagonals and 18 or 19:9 aspect ratios. You need an easy way to pull down and reach stuff that normally lives at the top of the screen. You need for touch operated controls, tabs and the like, to actually live in the bottom half of the screen where you can reach them. The status quo of Android software design I think needs a bit of a shake-up. The kind of UI we saw a couple of years ago on the original Pixels isn't going to cut it anymore. Whether we're talking about Android generally or just Google's Pixel UI, I think we need to see software that's designed for the way hardware looks now in 2019. Android is always evolving, of course, so hopefully we'll see something along those lines with the Pixel 4. That's it for now for Pixel 4, at least until the leaks start flowing. Be sure to hit the comments, let us know what you want to see from these phones, and subscribe so you don't miss the rest of our Pixel 4 coverage in the months ahead. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.